Welcome into the Secret Sauce on this Educational Friday. And today I'm going to talk about getting a design from concept to completion and doing it step by step. The thing is, customer satisfaction may be proven by the way a job is finished, but it all starts from the first interaction. Uh, Doing digitizing and thus embroidery correctly means getting the critical initial stages right from the start. By following a proven process and maintaining careful consideration, you'll give every job and every design a solid foundation for success. This starts with the interview. A great design begins by defining the problem it is intended to solve. For us, great designs begin by defining the parameters of the job. Digitizers must consider the context of the design after they've gathered the requisite art files. At a minimum, you need to know the requested finish size of the garment or the design on the garment, and it's a requested finish size because real digitizers are going to know that changes have to be made sometimes. The type of garment on which it's being stitched, the material from which said garment is made, and the color of the garment. To set yourself apart as a consultant, you'll want to dig deeper. Find out who is wearing the garments and under what conditions. Learn who is intended to see the designs and what the client wants viewers to notice or take away. With this additional information, you might adjust your digitizing or the use of your materials to compensate for harsh environments, decide to enhance or enlarge an element that's important to your client, or simply be able to better explain your pitch with a more complete idea of your client's expectations, wants, and needs. When it comes time to alter artwork, you'll be starting out with the understanding of what elements the client sees as the most critical in their art. This gives you a better chance of having your alterations approved, since you'll be sure to make concessions that honor said elements. The next step is really in the consultation. After the initial analysis of the art, a digitizer is going to make suggestions that take the desired finish size and any necessary technical components into consideration and then communicate those to the customer. At this point, you can create simple art mockups of requisite changes. And that leads us to our three-stage approval process. The first part being the art approval. In the art approval, if any significant changes are required or the customer is particularly concerned, you can create a modified piece of art reflecting the initial changes. This is pre digitizing a piece of art that is not yet rendered into stitches. Send this art to the customer for an initial approval of layout, size, and arrangement of design elements. This initial approval can catch gross errors, misspellings, and completely incorrect color selections. The next set would be the digital approval. That's the next part of this three-stage approval process. Upon receiving approval of any altered art from the customer, the digitizer is going to create the file as specified. We're going to do the actual work of digitizing. On completion of that file, we'll create a 3D digital preview and send that to the customer, preferably both as a standalone full image and as an on-garment mockup, with information specifically stating the finished size of the design. This will allow the customer to catch not only the same kind of errors as the art approval might, but gives them a more complete understanding of how the stitching is going to look and allowing them to give you more feedback before sampling. Some customers are going to give the go ahead based on this stage, but be sure that it's incredibly clear to them that color approvals can't be perfectly achieved through printed or digital previews. 100% accurate color matches are best done in the thread and in person. The next stage is what we really get that final approval that makes the most sense to us. This is the one that lets us get the garments on the machine. That's the sample approval. With the digital approval given, a sample should be stitched. For customers who want to preview colors and see stitch quality in complete detail, this sample approval is the real final step. For most customers, this may entail an in-shop visit, but you might find that with off-site or non-local customers, especially if you have sufficient lead times, sending a physical sample can make the most sense to confirm both the colors and the execution. Encourage your customers to judge the quality and clarity of the sample at a sensible distance for viewing. Remember, the average handshake is going to leave participants between 2 and 4 feet apart. The 3 foot or handshake distance is the most likely place we're going to be viewing a design on apparel. You're not going to be right up on top of somebody's left chest design or staring at their hat. You're going to be standing at that handshake distance. Make sure your customer knows that before they take everything under a microscope to judge it. And then we get into the preparation for production. Last but not least, with that final customer approval, you make sure that all information, including thread color, numbers, sizing, position, stabilizer selection, and any special treatment that's required, is listed in your job management system and or attached to your direct file. Make sure that the file name or indicator is clearly marked and connect to that information and prepare that final asset for production. Remember, as somebody who is either selling or as a digitizer, no matter what stage you have before production, your job is to produce a product that the production staff can use without having to ask you questions or constantly revert back to asking that customer. The aim is always to have enough information the production department should be able to decorate without any further input. And in conclusion, if you take care to complete each step of this process and you involve everyone from the customer production, no one will have a reason to retrace their steps, complain about confusion, or find themselves befuddled. Be clear, collect your information, and don't stitch out without real approval. You'll be glad for the clarity. That's my secret sauce for today.